Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. It's a bit hot today. I've been really sick, got stomach poisoning, and just getting over the best of it. The worst of it. So bear with me if all of a sudden I'm sort of like bleh. Anyway, I have most of the pictures from the contest. So Mike, thumbs up to you, dude. Here's some pictures of everybody that you've helped impact in a positive way. So take a brief look at the menagerie here. And if wherever you are, give a brief hand clap to Mike, who helped make give us your tired, your sick, and your poor possible. So like to give a great shout outs to him. Topography, that might actually end up coming back up here soon, just because of Age of Ultron, and some people have the map, some people don't. So definitely looking at that in particular, it's going to be a big deal. Definitely for that Age of Ultron map, that month 1 and 2 map on that crater where you start on elevated. That can be a game changer, in my opinion, because for the pure fact that if you have like a very long range siege turtle team, you can set up there with little disadvantage and just be like, well, you gotta come to me, homie, and when you do, I'll be ready. And that sort of mindset is annoying. So anyway, I gotta get some topography in. But what I did promise a while ago was that we're going to start looking at the implications of retirement in modern age. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized that this is a huger project and a huger deal than I originally thought. And here's why. When at first I was breaking it down, I'm like, resources, combination with characters that were awesome, that are no longer there, with all this other stuff. It was just the fact that the culling is so vast, that there were so many sets and so many figures, that we really don't see how small the pool has gotten. Okay, we really haven't seen how small the actual pool has gotten. And because of that, there's some things that have to shake out. People have to play things. People have to look at things. But what I've been able to do is look at, all right, what is in the smallest quantities, and then in specific categories, and how can we look at those? So up to episode 150, hopefully, unless something major comes out, we're going to be focused on the new meta and the implications. Also, speaking of episode 150, I know it's an early plug. Send me your AMA questions, ask me anything, to startingoverpodcast@gmail.com, so that I can answer them on episode 150. All right, let's get into it. I'm gonna go at this not in a like, hey, this is more important than this one order. But what I'm going to do is I'm just looking from top down, from when they're revealed on the HC realms. So there's no specific order of which is more important than the other. Okay? All right, let's start off. Supreme Intelligence. Supreme Intelligence is frustrating because for a majority of the dial, you have to figure out, can your figure your figure, and does your team composition benefit from you having sidestep, stealth, phasing, TK, incapacitate, precision strike, willpower, super senses, regeneration, perplex, probability control, and outwit, and random combinations of all of them. Pretty much, it's not until you get pretty much the entire time. Not until you get to the end where you only have two powers. In the end, you have one special power, and that one special power is manifesting through you. Stop turning the dial. This character is revealed. Give the assigned character a power action. When this click is revealed, give the assigned character a power action and place it on its card. Replace the assigned character with WizKids, MGO4, Supreme Intelligence, this same click number, and as the assigned character. When Supreme Intelligence takes damage, the assigned character takes the same amount of damage. If either the assigned character or the Supreme Intelligence is KO'd, so is the other character, but no points are scored for Supreme Intelligence. Now, is this waiting to be broken? Possibly, yes. Is it going to be broken immediately? No. Let's find out why. Assign. When building your force, assign the resource to a character on your force of 50 points or more. If the character has a keyword, it can be of any point value. At the end of your turn, you may turn the dial once clockwise. If the assigned character hit an opposing character with an attack this turn, you may turn it up to 2 additional times. If you hit a character. The assigned character can use the display powers. So, if you hit somebody, yay, you get 2 clicks. If you get hit, you don't get any bonuses. But if you just last the turn, it clicks down a little bit. Why is this an issue? Why is this anywhere close to being awesome? Well, for one pure fact, if you are able to last 19 turns and not take damage and make the game last 19 turns, then bam, homie, Supreme Intelligence is your buddy. The problem comes in is that this clicks at the end of your turn. So if you do get on 19, the question is, can you take a power action at the end of your turn? And that's a really huge question, because if you can, then yeah, you can just be like, bam, Supreme Intelligence on you, homie. What you gonna do? And your opponents can do very little. So that is a very interesting sort of setup. The other element about Supreme Intelligence and this is that if you feel that your team can operate fully functionally with just sitting for a couple of turns and this main character taking a shot or two now and then yeah, it's really worthwhile, considering that you can, on average, unless you're hyper aggressive, you're going to be engaging with phasing and perplex. Okay, so let's just say turn one, let's say you go first. Turn one, end your turn, you have TK. Yeah, you could TK someone in position. You don't have to, but boom, bam. All right, click that. Your opponent moves. They're not even close to you. Turn two, well, you're going to still decide, all right, well, I got stealth and willpower. Well, do I really want to go after somebody, or do I just want to chill here? And you can just chill in your starting area. Click, clear. All right, bam. On turn 3, your opponent should be within striking range, and the game should be able to begin. You have phasing and perplex. I know it's not that simple, and there are teams that can rush down, but you have to understand, like, the slower your opponent's team is, the more beneficial it is for you running this team. If Phantom X becomes too huge of an element in the meta, Barrier, Barrier, and Supreme Intelligence can all of a sudden just become stupid. So it's something definitely to think about as the meta shifts. Now again, are you fully going to be able to utilize all the little powers, the standard powers there? Most likely not. I'm not going to lie to you on that. But what I am going to tell you is this. If you do feel that you have a character that survives and has a deep enough dial to survive, preferably the character that you're using has some sort of regen mechanic, then yeah, go for it. Think about Supreme Intelligence. A lot of people say, blah, 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 it's a fun resource. It's a fun resource. I really got to say, as time progresses, we don't know. I never thought that the Batcave was meta until Goku proved me wrong. So what we can look at and really be honest with ourselves is we need a certain type of build to utilize this resource. Okay, next up is Avengers Roundtable. I'm going to just cut it short. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, listen to last week's episode. I break down almost everything with the Avengers Roundtable. So just go there and just pause this one, open up a new window, bloop, bloop, go and look for last week's episode, looking at the Avengers Roundtable for the 57th time. Click that, listen to that, then come back to this. I know you're like, man, Dark Logos, I'm watching this at the end of the day. 2 days, you're going to thank me. 2 days of prep, you're going to thank me. All right, so let's look at the Phoenix Force. And the Phoenix Force has a place. Definitely if you're looking for several elements. Element number one, you are looking to utilize poison. I kid you not, that is the number one reason. You're looking to utilize poison. The number two close reason, you're looking to utilize flight. Looking to utilize poison, you can looking to utilize flight. So you might say, well, Dark Logos, why are you specifically bringing up those two elements? Start looking at the amount of flyers that we have and how many of them are meta viable. Then take another step back and ask yourself this. If I have high mobility and I have poison, what can I do with a grounded hypersonic speeder? Just take a moment. Think about that. Selah. Okay? Because the huge thing that I've sort of noticed as I've looked at the resource over and over again, Phoenix Force allows you to swarm, get on top of your opponent, massively utilize melee. You can utilize range. Range is an option too. But definitely in the meta now, we're looking at this as an immediate equip and empowered resource. It gets better quickly. It gets better quickly versus Power Battery or even Avengers Roundtable, where it takes a long time to build up. You immediately have all your shards equipped at the beginning. Boom, they're assigned. They're good to go. Okay, so you can have a team of 5 and utilize this resource, and you don't have to worry about assigning power actions, deciding, which character is going to get this power this turn or whatever. You're set. Okay. Now, the groupings are an issue with the Phoenix Force because depending on what type of team you're running and what type of powers you need to fill in, and on average you feel how you're going to utilize the plus stats, this resource can be very interesting. I would definitely say on grouping 3, starting off, having Charge, Blaze Calls, Fangs, and Empower could be really powerful with a Scarlet Witch team with Defend, because all of a sudden your whole entire team has +1 defense on top of the Defend. Plus, if you're a base, you have Poison. Plus, you have Outwit from Outwit from Scarlet Witch, and above all else, if you have Defend from Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel's giving you an additional +1. So we can see really quickly how abusive this can be if we focus on it. Okay, if we take the time and look at, like, all right, wow, I could do that. Also, another thing that we have to note, with the lack of plus stats in the attack department, with the Book of the Skulls gone, and with the utility belt gone, even though it was a little bit more radical and random, we can see having on grouping 2 +1 attack just starting off can be huge, definitely for early aggro. If you really need to just get in there and do a lot of damage really fast. So I would definitely say look at the Phoenix Force for the first reason. You need poison. Second reason, you need flight. And then from there on out, you need to determine, does this grouping work for me? Even the fourth grouping saying, oh, hey, I got defend. Do I have a Ant-Man or Atomica or somebody else that I can just, hey, give this, construct to? Now they have invulnerability. And sorry, this Namor shard too. Now they have invulnerability and they're using defend. And now I got a 19 defend on my entire team. Let's not play this shabbily. It's still a metaphor. I know some people like, but the elite god Knack used it on the Sentinel, the Alpha class Sentinel in Rec Shop in the meta at Origins, and I'm like, yes, I understand, but the ruler of the world, Paris Gordon, used it, and he used it like this. Yes, I fully understand that. It is a viable resource, but the main thing I am telling you honestly, I'm telling you this and I'm telling you that, to quote Barry White. If you come into this resource understanding that it gives you mobility, it allows you to do damage without having to roll, it allows you to get more survivability, it allows you to get plus stats. And knowing that how your tempo of your game goes, all of those plus stats that you're going to get is going to help you. If you're able to chart that, stuff, you are golden with this resource. Okay? All right. Also, some people might say, well, isn't the Quinjet a resource? I think it is, but I don't have a Quinjet information in front of me, so I can't say like what it does and how you should look at it. So just bear with me. All right. Next up, Invincible Iron Man. We're going to look at the power plant. Power plant is probably, I'm going to say this. The power plant is probably one of the top 3 meta resources right now. But it's starting to have problems. The Avengers Roundtable is a huge problem for the power plant for a couple of reasons. First off, the Avengers Roundtable isn't assigned to anybody. Second of all, the powers that you generate from the Avengers Roundtable, such as the Invincible, might end up having weird interactions with the Disintegration Beam. Because the Disintegration Beam says when this character hits an opposing character with a relic or resource assigned to it, or holding an object, then the attack rolls 10 or more remove the relic, resource, or object from the game. Well, you're not assigned the Roundtable. It just goes into effect. When this character hits an opposing character that's 150 points or less, until your next turn, anytime that character can use Impervious, Invincible, or Invulnerability, it uses Toughness instead. So I take that back. So if it can use versus Possess, never mind. So anyway, so the power plant still is useful because what is it? You have situational stat mods. There is no idle stat mod. You're using it, you're burning a ring, you're getting it. You're also having rings that give you +1 attack from range, +1 damage. You're able to increase your amount of targets. You're able to do energy explosion. You're able to do tons of damage. Add on your defensive options, which are like the Ice Blast ring, Blacklight ring, stuff like that. Definitely a Blacklight ring giving you stealth, and Smoke Cloud lowering your opponent's attack, their movement, and their range. So those elements are huge. So where do we look at this resource? I have to say you're definitely looking at special power interactions. You're looking mainly, in my opinion, at range attackers. Are you a heavily range-based team? Are you able to deploy? Do you have easy to maneuver support? Then the power plant's for you. That's where we're going to start seeing it at. Are we going to see more creative builds using some well-known figures? Maybe not, because we're seeing team bases come back into the meta in this weird way. So I don't know. I don't know. So there's a lot in your limitations, but in all honesty, I don't see this resource falling off from the meta. It's probably going to stay on the top, like your top 1 to 3 resources until it retires. just because WizKids is dialing down the resources. All right, let's go into Pandora's box. All right. Pandora's box is a problem. And here's why it is a problem. First off, it costs 12 points, so it's already starting off high for not being that useful. You're at 12 points again, we could have got Supreme Intelligence. Why are we looking at Pandora's box? We're looking at Pandora's box because we're looking to equip several characters with the Sins idols in a different way than utilizing the Sins themselves. Okay? And just repeating that. We are looking to equip the Sin idols without having to equip the Sins themselves, without having the actual Sin characters on the field. That is it. Okay? That is it. All right, so now some folks might say, well, why don't I look at Rock of Eternity? We're going to get to Rock of Eternity later. But we're looking to outfit a team. That's why we're looking at Pandora's box. Pandora's box has a weird ruling where you're able to get your bonus due to the amount of sinners, not the amount of sins attached. You can't have multiple sins attached to one person, but they only count as one sinner. So since they only count as one sinner, that creates a problem. It creates a huge problem because your bonus roll to get to, oh my gosh, Brokeland 1 and 2, it's reduced. Okay. Also, you have your different starting paths for your number of sins, and so that's an issue. You have to figure out what you need, because if you're like, yeah, my whole, all my sin guys or my first sin guy has super strength. Then when I get my second sin guy out, I have access to charge and perplex. Like, yeah. And then I'm already in there, so like flurry and close combat expert, of course, are going to be useful. Like there's stuff like that where you're trying to either build like a close combat situation, or you're like, oh, well, hey, let me get this mobility situation down. Or, hey, I really want this support survivability situation, so you have 3 paths with Pandora. Okay. So that's the huge element. And so let's look at emptying the box and Verigrees of Sin. Verigrees of Sin. Once during your turn, you may roll a d6 that can't be rerolled. If you do, sinners can use the power shown in the corresponding slot until your next turn. So it's like, oh, hey, guess what? I roll a d6, boom. Hey, I can use the powers in slot 5 or 3 or whatever else. Okay, Third Eye Possessed. Sinners modify their combat values by +1, which is a long build-up. It's a real long build-up. Sinners can use improved movement, ignores elevation, ignores hindering terrain, ignores blocking terrain, and destroys blocking terrain as the character moves through it. Improved targeting, ignores elevated terrain, ignores hindering terrain, ignores blocking terrain. When a ranged combat attack resolves any blocking terrain along the line of fire is destroyed. And modify their speed and range values by +1. And then Gateway to Earth 3, sinners modify their combat values by +1. Sinners can use the Mystic's team ability. Once per game, choose another DC team ability, and sinners can use that team ability when they can use this power. Now, you can pick Quintessence or Outsiders. Heck, it doesn't even say... I mean, hopefully they clarify, like, you can't use ATAs, but if you can use ATAs, oh, buddy, there's some ATAs that I know that I would use. But let's look at it. To work, to do your setup, you have to go back to, at the beginning of the game, choose your path, blah, 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 turn the dial to the starting line of the chosen color, and only use click numbers of the color this game. Sinners. When a friendly character has a sin on its card, it's called a sinner, and it's assigned Pandora's box once per turn. You may give a character a power action and assign it a sin from this resource by placing it onto the character's card. When you do, turn the dial to the click number equal to the number of sins on all sinners. A sinner may not have more than one sin on his card from this resource unless there are 3 or more friendly sinners on the map. So you have to have 3 or more friendly sinners on the map to start assigning multiple sins to a person. So you can't just be like, yeah, one guy, all the sins, put all the sins on here. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. This is a team-based resource. The problem. This is meant to compete with the Phoenix Force. It just is. Unfortunately, it does not. Now, what this resource does allow you to do once you start getting all of these idols out, or I just call them idols. Once you start getting all these idols out, is you can start dictating, all right, first off, I pick my path. I know what path this team is going to use. Then I'm going to say, hey, most of the idols give me sidestep. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to pick these idols that give me sidestep. Oh, guess what? My opponent is mainly melee based. So I'm just going to mainly throw out the melee based sins, the combat reflexes and stuff like that. So I'm going to throw those out first. And then when my opponent gets on top of me, they're going to have to do with +2 defense. Oh, my opponent is primarily range based. All right, I'm going to throw out the range based sins first. And now my opponent has to deal with my range. Let's go back to the whole phenomena of the Scarlet Witch teams. The Scarlet Witch teams do benefit a ton. I really do mean this. A ton from Pandora's Box, because depending on the situation, they're already a 19 or 20 defense with defend. Then you're adding energy shield deflection on top of that. And then you have Scarlet Witch lowering your attack down by 3 because of the hex for at least one attacker. So you're overcoming a 22-23 with the average attack being 10. So we also can just say, like, hey, defend teams also benefit from this tech. But sort of go back to what I said with the Avengers Roundtable. If Captain America gives me energy shield and my opponents get up in my face, then that +2 doesn't do me any good. So you have to already have something set up where it's like, aha, I'm doing this as well. That's why I still think Phoenix Force beats out Pandora's Box. Where does Pandora's Box have a huge edge over the Phoenix Force? First off, I would say we're going to have to look at Envy. Envy Idol says this character can use energy shield deflection and sidestep. When making an attack, you may replace this character's attack value with one of its target's attack values. So if you already have a low attack value and high damage, characters that are like that have long ranges, or you are perfect for the Envy idol, because you're like, oh yeah, you big attacker, monster guy, 12 attack. I'm going to take your 12 attack, and it's going to replace my 9. And guess what? I'm going to perplex up my attack by 1, so now I'm a 13, and my damage by 1. And now I'm doing 5 damage with a 13 attack. So Envy is the first major advantage. Then Sloth. This character can use sidestep and modifies its defense value by +1. So it's just a flat +1, which is great. So it allows you just to, if you really need to guarantee that this guy survives, yeah, this is a great idol to have. At the end of your turn, if this character wasn't given any actions this turn, heal it of 1 damage. So it allows you to say, like, hey, my defend guy, is he just going to sit there the majority of time? Yep. I don't have any way of healing you, so I'm going to give you this idol. You're going to get +1 to your defense. It's going to make you harder to kill. You're still defending. If you get hit or poisoned, that's fine. I'm just going to heal it back up. I'm going to make it so that I can get you out of there, but you're going to heal back up. So it's a slow process, but that's a huge element. Then it's not pride. I thought one of them gives you steel energy. Oh no, well, greed gives you perplex at the range of 10 with energy, shield deflection, and sidestep. And then wrath. Here we go. This one is definitely the tempo changer because you can definitely say, hey, I got willpower, I got combat reflexes. Adjacent opposing characters can't use shape change. If you combine him with Banshee from Deadpool, now Banshee has energy, shield deflection, plus combat reflexes, plus sidestep, plus you can't use any of your defensive damage reduction powers except toughness, and now you can't use shape change. So literally Banshee creates an absolute hit situation with the Wrath, with the Wrath idol. So those are my bonuses that I would say, like, yeah, okay, if you're looking at a team dynamic and you need something different, poison isn't really going to help you. Start looking at Pandora's box. The idols are useful. The idols are very useful. Definitely, like I said, envy, sloth, greed, wrath. Those in particular, those are really good. All right, let's look at Rock of Eternity. Rock of Eternity. It is a resource that gives the finger to Lydia. You just pick whichever finger you want to give it. Okay? Because first off, none of your sins are attached when you start the game. So Lydia goes first, second, it doesn't matter. Boom. Lydia cannot steal anything, which creates a huge problem definitely when you're looking at that what meta, the arcade Lydia meta, where it's like, hey, guess what? Any way it goes, I win. You know, so automatically right there is our first problem that we overcome, is that we don't have to be afraid of Lydia. But here's our setup. This is where it gets funny. Setup. At the beginning of the game, choose red or blue paths, turning the Shazam turn the Shazam dial to the starting line of the chosen color and only use the click numbers of that color this game. Instead of placing objects, so you don't get to place objects at all. You don't get to place objects at all. Place up to 3 sins on the map. Now, here's the thing: if you choose to pick objects, you don't get to put sins on the map, or you can put objects. But that's how it goes. Each sin must be placed at least 5 squares away from each other, which sort of sucks. And any starting area, and each in its own row and column. The remaining sins are added to your sideline. The sin dial begins on click 1. The sin dial can't turn to a click lower than 1. So imprisoning the sins at the beginning of your turn, if your champion doesn't have 2 action tokens, you may attach a sin from your sideline to the resource. So your first turn, you automatically attach a sin. So you probably want the one that you need the most. Like, the ones you need the most are on the sideline. The ones that you can just go la-di-da and pick up, those need to be on the field. Okay? So you might even want to make it so that the first one, the main 2 that you need, are one's on the sideline and the other one is like nearby for you to pick up. Or you can just say the third most important one is on the field and the first 2 ones that you need are on the sideline. At the beginning of your turn, when your champion has no action tokens, you may roll a 2d6 that can't be re-rolled. And add that current click number from the Shazam dial. If the result is 16 or give your champion a double power action. Attach any unattached sins to the resource and turn the Shazam dial to click 9. So you can just keep having sins on there, and it's really good. But here's the thing, and this is the huge problem that comes in. I think it's when count up your sins. Each time one or more action tokens have been placed on an opposing character, you may turn the sin dial once clockwise. Each time one or more action tokens are placed on your champion, turn the sin dial once counterclockwise. So it's sort of counterintuitive. I mean, it's you're working against yourself. And then there's another part. Champion can use the standard powers indicated, okay, by the Shazam dial when it's assigned the same number of tokens indicated next to that slot. When a special power or attached sin is showing on either the Shazam dial or the sin dial, your champion may use its effects. Okay. So here's the main downside is that for me to use a sin, I have to, roll on this little dial and it's like, oh, okay, that sin's there. Okay, I can use this sin. I really wish it was like, hey, I've attached these sins already. I get to use all the sins that are attached, just period. So that part does suck. And your 2 power is giving into sin. Give your champion a free action and turn the sin dial 3 clicks counterclockwise. When you do, choose one attached sin, and your champion can use this effect until your next turn, even if this power is lost. So you can go back and be like, hey, I'm not having to take any damage. I need to heal up a little bit. I'm not on sloth now. Let me go ahead and try to use that sloth sin. Or I really, really need a higher attack value. Let me use that envy sin. So there is an advantage to it, but you're working against yourself, and that's the part that I don't like. When you finally power yourself up and you become Shazam, you're not getting that many bonuses. You just get to use all the sins, and that's it. So 4, once you get access to 4, you're like, well, I can use 2 sins already, and that's fine. So the dial doesn't really help you to make you get fully control over the sins, which sort of sucks. But if you're looking at, all right, hey, I can gradually use one of these powers that are listed here, like the flurry, the hypersonic speed, the plasticity, anything like that, then yeah, this is a great dial. Definitely if you're still concerned about Lydia or any of the approaching darkness fellows. All right, so is this one of the better resources? Probably not. Probably near the bottom right now. There could be some figures coming out here soon that can utilize this a little bit better. I would be honest. I would rather play the Supreme Intelligence before Rock of Eternity. So yeah, we're about 30 minutes, 37 minutes. So here's what we're going to do. I know I got some good emails on the intermission. Since this is sort of heavy and I know you all are taking notes. So let's all go to the lobby and grab ourselves a snack. Intermission. Ta-da-ta-ta-ta-ta. Bam. Ba-bum-bum-bum-bum. Do. Ba-bum-bum-bum-bum. Down. Hey. All right, you're back. Okay, cool. Hope you liked my little Rhapsody rendition. And here we go. This is the part that makes babies cry. It just does. Because we're going to go through all the lanterns. And you're like, oh, blah. All right. I'm going to preference some things. 1. The lanterns' powers are not scalable into this is at the top and this is at the bottom. Now you might be wondering, that's a really large blanket statement, Dark Logos. Why did you say that? First off, considering the meta changes, the lanterns only have three constructs that immediately give you a stat boost or a potential for increase in stats. The first is the boxing glove, which is combat close combat expert, then the crossbow, which is range combat expert, and then the axe, which is Blaze Claw's Fangs. So you can roll 3 or higher, possibly with Blaze Claw's Fangs, which is going to increase the damage value of most characters. You're going to get a stat bump from Close Combat and Range Combat Expert. Those are the only stat bumps that you get. Now, you can say, all right, one more Sniper Rifle. That increases your range value stat. Okay, so 4. Okay, so you have 4 things that can increase your stats. Versus all the other resources that just flat can do it. Okay, they just flat do it. Like every one of those resources that I listed can flat give you a power or boost your resources or both. I mean, boost your stats, sorry. So, what does this mean when we're looking at the batteries starting off? We're looking at equip time, build up time. We're looking at build up time from the actual battery itself. We're looking at emotional spectrum. We're looking at stat manipulation from the lanterns themselves, with them having perplex, and then variable other things. So when it comes down to team construction, as it stands now, and I know after the watch list, woo, things can change, woo, but mainly as it stands now, we're talking about July 21st, when I'm recording this, 2015. They are in no particular ranking. And you're going to be like, orange battery, green battery, star sapphire battery, red battery, dark logos, you on this stuff. Okay, let's start off. Green battery. A lot of people like #1 control resource in the game, and it is. It's the most controlling resource in the game. It can consistently do what it do. Okay. The problem comes in with green battery is that yes, it can give you tempo increase, it gives you willpower, and it gives you potential to ignore, perplex, and outwit from your opponent. And that's nice. That's really nice. But let's look at this as well. What stats are you increasing? Well, dark logos. If I have the core keyword, I increase my attack and my movement and everything but damage. And that's good. That's real good. Okay. So you have a +1 defense. Most of the other resources are giving me a +1 or +2 attack. So while that bonus is nice, it's not as awesome as it once was. But I have more movement. Great. That's something your opponent can't take away from you. I have more range. Okay, great. Yeah, this is the lanterns are the only resources that give you increased range. All right, great. But I also can increase my range by 2 with the Avengers Roundtable. If I already have high range built in, and yes, I'm paying for it, I have an advantage as well. So, what we're starting to see, as I said, that a lot of the, oh my gosh, it's insane, advantages start to fall off once we take closer looks at the other resources. Also this, and I'm still speaking about the green battery in general. All right, now my team has willpower, great. But if my composition already has willpower figures built in, I've overpaid. I just have. Because I'm paying for the same ability twice, which is a potential liability with the Green Lantern battery. Now, if your whole entire team doesn't have willpower, then yes, it's a boon. But there are downsides when we start looking at full optimization. All right, so let's look at the white battery next. The white battery is by far one of the most underrated and easily abused batteries in the meta right now. Let's look at why. First off, you have a battery, so all batteries are going to have access to support. But when you look at it, look at all the resources that you have access to. Supreme Intelligence gives you sustain, gives you regen. Avengers Roundtable in the future might be able to give you regen, and I'm going to say might. I don't know yet. The power plant doesn't give you any sort of regen. The Pandora's Box and Rock of Eternity, you have to have done nothing to heal one. Okay, so able to stack on the nurse plus the support from the battery plus the power action heal, and that's every character within 6 squares. So once you look at it like that, the amount of resurrection power this battery has is stupid. Definitely if you have a character that's like, you target me, I get bonuses, or you attack me, I get bonuses, like the whatchamacallit, Prime War Machine from Invincible Iron Man. Oh, you attacked me, you targeted me for you targeted me, okay, cool. Shape change, add that little revenge token. Okay, you missed me, but I still get a revenge token. All right, now I'm going to unload on you. Boom, 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 boom. Double power action. Boom. I got enough revenge tokens. Free shot. Boom. Oh, you're still alive. That's fine. Oh, I'm hurt a little bit from taking that Mystics damage. Little dude, little paw guy, power action heal for me. Right away, boss. You sure you don't want me to TK your back? No, that's fine. Just hit that power action heal so I can get back on my impervious. Boom. It's that simple. So some people might think like, well, hey, you're making a grand generalization there. But let's just look at it. If I have 2 or 3 characters with a White Lantern power battery, it's easy for me to just heal everybody up. If I have stop clicks, my opponent invested all this damage, boom, stop clicks happen. All right, Billy, roll your regen. Bam, roll my regen. I rolled a 3. Okay, so I heal 1. All right, cool. Now we're going to power action heal you. Boom. Now we're going to do it again. Boom. Now you've healed 3. All right, and your opponent's looking back and it's like, well, now he has shape change, super senses, and traded toughness. What do? I have to dump a lot of damage into him, and I've taken damage already. Now, it does come at a cost. You're giving up a power action to heal. But when we really look at it, that's really not that bad. And then let's just say even more so, like, hey, my characters don't have stop clicks. Or they do have stop clicks, but they're not a White Lantern. Well, guess what? I can get an additional stop click. It's a once per game effect, but that is really good. So we're rewinding. We're rewinding. If we look at the way that the average meta player plays, it is aggressive. If I would say, from the amount of teams that I've looked at, the amount of players I've coached, the amount of players I've talked to, the average HeroClix mindset is aggressive, just the way the team building moves us towards. The problem is this. As defensive options rise, usually aggressive countermeasures increase. As defensive measures rise, aggressive countermeasures increase. Whenever you have defensive options that exceed aggressive countermeasures, you end up having a stalemate game situation, in which it's better for both sides to defend than it is for them to attack. So it's usually best to try to keep aggro at 55% and defense at 50% in their equity. Sorry, I mean 45%. I said 55% aggro, 45% defense. And here is why. And this is just a game design thing I learned from playing City of Heroes. If you're able to do that, now a lot of game designers like it's 60-40. I don't think that's a good idea because you alienate a type of your player base. But 45-55 is really balanced because it requires skill to play defense and offense is still on the table. Whereas if you do pure offense, you're at a risk that your DPS has been completely negated. So here, let me give you an example. All right, so let's go back to that scenario. I have a 8-click deep figure. Okay, it has toughness. Okay, I have 3 figures out. And those 3 figures each have a White Lantern construct. Let's just say the one being targeted has the regen construct. All right, and it has toughness. All right, so Mega Superman hits my main guy that's 8 clicks deep for 5. So he's going to take 4, okay, because of toughness. All right, I roll regen. All right, let's say I heal 2. So technically you have 2 sticking damage, okay? I have the option now. Let's say, so I roll regen, I heal 2. So I rolled a 4. Okay, so now I have an option now. I can power action heal with one of my characters and get my main attacker down, or my big deep attacker back up, and have only taken 1 total damage. Or I can take that second power action heal and get him back up to where he was. And if that super duper mega Superman had hit and it's on the second token, and it gets a second token, then that's it. There's nothing else that he can do. You know, it's like, okay, next turn he clears, I clear, he hits, I repeat the same thing. So it becomes a problem. Definitely when we're talking about tent poles. If tent poles become super dominant in the meta, the White Lantern Power Battery does something very, very strong. And it allows a whole team to mega sustain. It just does. No rolling dice, anything. You just heal. So it's a thought. All right, so let's move on to the next battery, and it's the Red Lantern Battery. The Red Lantern Battery is interesting because you're following the same logic that you do with the Phoenix Force, except your amount of advantages that you get with the Phoenix Force is not as good. What you're looking at is you're in a situation where you must guarantee that this 1 damage goes through, and if you face Invincible, you are screwed. And that's a huge deal. That is a huge deal. I think that's something that one main reason why a lot of players have sort of faded away from Red Lantern Power Battery is because Invincible has become more of a thing. But when we look at in the Red Lantern Power Battery, your main thing is that penetrating poison and that giant reach. Now, the giant reach is awesome because it allows you to carry. Giant reach allows you to carry. So, hold up. And this is that moment where I say something and I'm like, hold up, wait. Did I just put my foot in my mouth? And somebody spilled like a soda or barbecue sauce on my pack. That's bad. It's like stuck together. Oh gosh. That's why people, you gotta like prepare. And you gotta keep your stuff clean. Keep your stuff clean. Alright, so my giant reach, this character ignores opposing characters' plasticity. So you automatically ignore plasticity, so you can just break away from them. Adds +1 to its D6 roll when breaking away. And can use the carry ability. Yep. So yeah, this character can use the carry ability. When this character is given an action that includes a close combat attack, all squares within a range value of 2 in line of fire are considered adjacent. This ability can't be countered. So with my super sticky pack, with it's barbecue sauce. Someone spilled barbecue sauce during 4th of July on it, I think. It protected the maps, though. That's the important thing. So, you can use carry. Now, you might say, well, Dark Logos, that's nice and good. But what advantage do I have for that? Well, let's see. You have Construct A on person and then Construct B on other person. And you're just like, well, you can move. I'm going to carry you, and we're going to chase down. You can just alternate, and you just alternate the carries if they're both grounded. And you just be like, yep, I'm chasing you down every turn. And yep, -2 to my movement, but you won't be able to get away. You're going to that person is eventually going to have 2 action tokens on them. So the ability to carry is where you start telling other folks, yeah, you're a little bit screwed now. And as the turns progress and I get more constructs out, I can get more and more of this swarm crap going. Red Lantern Battery turns into a nightmare for certain teams. A huge nightmare for certain teams. Definitely your one-man army teams or your 2 or 3 figure teams. Because you're able to, if you plan this out correctly, just swarm them and just be like, you can't do this. You're not going to be able to handle all this swarm. If you have characters like, a character like Grasshopper, oh, you kill me, I come back, I get my construct back. What's up with that? There you go. All right, so let's go on to the Orange Lantern Battery, and this is where everybody's like, it's the best around. Nothing's going to ever keep you down. You're the best. So, the Orange Lantern Battery, we all know, hey, I get plasticity and barrier, and I have the ability to negate powers, and it's great. And the main thing is, as long as hypersonic speed is in the meta, if you don't have improved movement, ignores characters, you've pretty much just said F you and feng shui to every single hypersonic speed zero ranger out there. Okay? Definitely ones that need speed force tokens. And I will say this, I think the main reason Dark Flash did not take off in the meta is because of this figure. And I would even say so much because of his resource, but Freddie Freeman as well. You'll see them in No Tactics. I'm betting No Tactics they'll come right back. Tactics, they're not good. Unless you're running Freddie Freeman with a sniper rifle, and the same thing with Dark Flash. But Dark Flash definitely needs to get Speed Force tokens. So Orange Lantern Battery is hey, I have this, you don't get to use this, yay. Okay. But you also have in situations where you can use it, you actually have to use it before you can negate it, which can cause some problems. Definitely when you have defensive powers. So, how am I going to use my Impervious before, on my own turn? You really can't. So, unless the new Retaliate crap kicks in, it's like I get to make an attack on my opponent's turn, then, yeah, that could be useful. But that's a huge gamble because you're betting that you're still going to have Impervious after your opponent attacks. So, what does this mean? Well, the easiest and most useful things to negate are support powers. Well, guess what, homie? You have to pack the support powers because the battery doesn't count as a character. So, you're looking at the Omnimorph, Swiss Army knife characters, which I understand are great because I play them. Super Squirrel, I said Super Squirrel. Super Scroll, Super Squirrel. Oh gosh, Rocky and Bullwinkle are laughing somewhere in some other dimension. Super Scroll and Engineer, by far, are the best options in the game for that Omni tool. Right up there, is Batman. And I think there's still a Green Lantern that's legal that's able to pick multiple attack powers. So, pick from multiple attack powers. So you're automatically still seeing the viability, but the problem comes in is most things that you want to negate are defensive options. Shape change, super senses, impervious, invincible, stuff like that. So it's going to make the road for this actual battery a lot tougher. Taking away running shot and hypersonic speed is going to be a bonus, but I think we are starting to see the decline of Orange Battery. Not to the point where it's obsolete. I don't think so. I still think it's still strong. But you can start to see in my analysis that I'm giving, after retirement, it sort of sits in a interesting place. It really does. So, definitely something to think about. All right, so let's move on to Indigo Battery. Indigo Battery is the second strongest sustained resource in the game. But it is defensive options is right up there with White Lantern Power Battery. I would say that is probably slightly below White Lantern Power Battery, and here's why. You still have to roll dice to heal. You do have, let me rephrase that. You have to roll dice to use your support, and you have to be certain distance away to use your heal. You just can't flat heal unless Indigo 1 is on your team. And even then, there's some certain, you have to be a lot more placement oriented with the Indigo battery than the White Lantern Power Battery. But not being able to be targeted unless you're within 4 squares creates a huge advantage for the Indigo Power Battery player. Okay. Definitely because the Indigo Power Battery, I would say Colossals are definitely still in the meta, but I would rather have you play another resource than the Indigo Battery, just because you need that improved movement, ignores blocking terrain, and I think Pandora's Box eventually gives that to you. But that's a whole problem with Colossals right now, and if the round table gives you improved movement, ignores blocking, destroys blocking terrain, I'm telling you, floodgates. I got something for people. Sound like my father. Oh my gosh. That's okay. For everybody sub 20 that's listening to the show, you think that you don't like your parents and that everything they do is corny. Just wait. I'm 32. I'll be 33 soon. I have so many traits of my father, and it just happens. It just happens. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? How did I start laughing like him? And then you realize you can't run from it. All right, so we're at an hour. Normally the show ends here. What we're going to do is we're going to have we're just going to keep going until I go through all the resources. We're going to talk about some other stuff real briefly. But so let's do another intermission. Let's all go to the bathroom. Let's all go to the bathroom. Let's go to the bathroom because we ate too many snacks. Ha ha, da 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 da. Do some dum dum, bam, do 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 dum, bam. All right, we're back. So again, Indigo Battery. Overall, it is high level of defense. It's probably one of those things that if you really want to stall, this is a lot better stall mechanic than Orange Lantern Power Battery with just putting down barrier. Because if you're waiting for X amount of turns to happen so you can do whatever, then yeah, this is definitely the resource for you. All right. This is where the evil happens. Sinestro Core Power Battery. OMAs love it. Some other teams can use it. It by far is one of the most divisive battery resources to look at because of several reasons. Reason number one, you're most likely putting this on a Sinestro, so he's getting +1 stats and the effect on top of that. So you're looking at a 3 points of technical defense that he's gained, -2 to your attack and +1 to his defense. Okay, on top of that, he has a perplex, so he can lower your attack on the main attacker by 1 more. So the deviation is almost a dice roll. That's huge. So there are some limited situations, and you might say, well, Dark Logos, why was he getting perplexed? Like a lot of the Sinestros just have perplex after they just have perplex. So if you're playing a Sinestro without perplex, fine. Okay, he doesn't have access to perplex. Okay, cool. But when we look at that Sinestro is able to pick out one character and just say, screw you, buddy, you're there, and I'm here, and I have a super high defense and you have a super low attack. That's not too fun. So it's definitely something that I would say needs to be looked at, and I think it is. So, but here's the other control element that becomes interesting: that if you take time to power up the battery, getting that extra perplex from the battery is more so empowering than any other resource. Just for the fact that you can choose to again bump your stat by +1, or your defense by +1, your damage by +1, your attack by +1, or lower one of your opponent's attack down by another 1. So it's a huge issue. Some people would say, like, hey, having a swarm team with multiple perplexers that are able to lower down attacks is great, and it does have its advantages. I won't lie. The other end of that, I would say, is you're left still with the extreme of the tent pole. So while there's diversity that you can use in the elements of control, such as, yeah, I know you're waiting for it, the Scarlet Witch defend bomb tech, this can actually sway some thought processes and make people think very, very carefully. No other resource allows you to manipulate your opponent's stats as hard as this one does. Just think about that. Just think about that. No other resource allows you to manipulate your opponent's stats as hard as this does. And technically, it is the only resource that manipulates your opponent's stats. So, well, I would say just directly, just for it existing. So, definitely, it's still there. But here's the key issue: you're still set with the limitations. Your characters have to be higher point value to get the bonus of the emotional spectrum. You also have characters that potentially could be immune to perplex. You also have characters that just can say, screw it, my attack value is your attack value after replacements. Okay? And so, yeah, you have a high attack value, I have a high attack value, it equals back out to what I had. Boom. So it's not absolute. It's not absolute control. All right, next up, Star Sapphire battery. I gotta say, when it came out, I was like, blah, 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 strongest resource there is. Ha ha. Now I am more along the lines of proceed with caution. Yeah, that's the best way I could say. Proceed with caution. Because I know a lot of folks were like, that dumb Super Scroll and zombie tech, like, oh, I roll a whole bunch of Star Sapphire constructs, and then boom, my zombies become perpetual perpetual dodging and food gathering token machines. But again, Pulse Wave gets past that, and there's also some other abilities that are in the game period flat. I'm saying in the game period flat, that are able to negate mystics, or just say, hey, guess what, I don't take mystic damage, or you just can't use your team ability. So because of that, it creates a interesting and new situation. There also are a lot of characters and abilities that just say, hey, homie, you can't use shape change. 3D Man, for example. And also, we already went over it. I think Wrath gets rid of your shape change. So you add in the fact that Shriek is still in the meta, and now Shriek is like, everybody has Battle Fury, and yelling, Carpe Diem in YOLO. So what's going on? So what's still going on with this battery? Is it still good? And I would say situationally, yes. This is more meta dependent than any other resource. In that's your local meta is going to tell you how viable this resource is. And in all honesty, I think it sort of starts to fall off. Just because there's too much in the meta scene right now where one or two of its major advantages are completely negated. Then we go to the emotional spectrum, which allows you to increase its range, which is huge. Huge deal. Definitely when you start talking about aura effects. As long as aura effects are attached to your range. If your aura effect is not attached to your range and it's a flat assigned value, then it does no good. Now, if you want to make your sniper snipe harder, then yeah, this is great. But you need to also make sure you have a theme team to fully utilize the increased range so you can have an open map. All right, next up, Blue Lantern Battery. I hated on this, and I thought rightfully so when it came out. I then came back and said, it's not bad. Now I'm going to tell you this. With Book of the Skulls gone. With Book of the Skulls gone. And you will note, like, Book of the Skulls did fill this huge void. But with Book of the Skulls gone, this resource is probably the second most powerful offensive resource in the game. At worst, third place. I'm going to let that sink in. And you're going to be like Dark Logos making extravagant claims and, backing it up with absolutely nothing. Okay, so let's start looking at it. Out of all your resources, what have we noticed here? Hey, Dark Logos, one thing I've noticed is that we don't have a lot of plus stats. On average, I'm getting a +1, and sometimes I get a very situational +2. Sometimes I get a +1 damage, sometimes I get a +1 defense. Okay? Well, imagine this, kids. You are able to say, I have very good stats, and I'm going pure aggro on these fools. I need a couple of things to increase my damage output, and I have maybe one thing that's there defensively. But I'm going full, Wakanda revenge on them. I send the message that I'm coming. I let you know the day I'm coming. You have your whole army there. I kill your whole army on purpose and then kill you. So here's why I say that. Sinestro Corps. I manipulate my opponent's stats. Blue Lantern Battery. All will be well because I make it well. If I have... I'm going to perplex up my attack. I have two constructs out. I perplex one of my figures' attack up by 2. I use the crossbow. So I'm making a ranged attack so I can up my attack again by 1 more and increase my damage by 1 or increase my damage by 2. So now for 2 constructs, a crossbow construct and whatever the heck else, I have modified my one figure by 4. By 4. If it hadn't sunk in, I can go in on that character using Range Combat Expert. I can perplex up my damage, have all on damage, perplex up my attack once, and now I'm doing 5, 6, 7 damage, one shot. But Dark Logos, you're pretty much saying that all I'm going to do is just perplex up, attack, and whatever. Yeah, you can. Or you can just sit there and just say, derp to derp, I keep perplexing up my defense and on all these figures, and we just sit here and slowly grind through you. We can do that too. Now again, if there's a figure that's like opposing characters can't use perplex, yes, you are out of luck. I am sorry. But as it stands right now, there is nothing in the game that will allow you to just get tons of positive perplex. Just not. The more if you go back to probably about like a year and a half ago, I talk about, your new meta staples. And I pretty much say this: perplex always scales up infinitely. You can never have enough perplex. Okay? If you decide if you have enough magical power perplex to perplex all the stats on your team to max, you still or don't have enough perplex, because you still need enough perplex to perplex down everybody on your opponent's team stats down to the math floor. You got to understand that. So when you're looking at this team, swarm teams benefit, solid 3-4 figure teams benefit. The only thing that really just doesn't benefit is OMAs. Unless your OMA has some stupid thing where its emotional spectrum is affected by the emotional spectrum affects something on this dial, like allow you to reroll your impervious, your shape change, or I have a super magical power that I roll 1d6 and allows me to do something. Okay, that is huge. So I want you to think about this. I really want you to think about this. There is one character that fulfills all of your support needs if you just play her, and makes this one battery absurdly stupid. That one figure is the Gravity Feed Triplicate Girl. You give the main one TK. Now they all can use TK in Perplex. Or you give the main one the wall so that they all have access to put down free barrier. Yeah. So you have, for the cost of one character, you have 3 perplexes, plus possibly 3 TKs or 3 free walls. And it gets better, people, because if you attach an entity that allows you to have prop, now you have 3 props. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, again, like I'm saying, this battery, as of now, is the second most powerful offensive battery in the game. I mean, offensive resource in the game. Do I expect everybody to shift to this? No. I expect it to be subtle. I expect some people to start to pick up about what you do and what not and not do. But you're going to be like, well, Dark Logos, what if I want to perplex down my opponent's stats? What about that then? What if I have a special perplex that allows me to do something awesome? Then I can't use it with this cool perplex. Then look at another resource. But if you can't do all that cool jazz, then yes, this is the awesomes. Okay? All right, so let's move on. Oh, side note, because the emotional spectrum is so janky, you can choose not to do it and add in the Green Lantern shield. You're welcome. All right, so let's go. Let's keep going. The final resource that we're going to look at is the Black Lantern Core battery. Now, this has been by far one of the most lackluster. It's been one of the most lackluster resources for a while. The meta isn't a melee meta. It hasn't. It's reverted back to a ranged meta. It was nice when it was, because it forced people to play a lot differently. But there's 2 very in particular things that make this resource stand out. And I'm starting with the emotional spectrum before the ring. Emotional spectrum. If the battery attached power ring and all blah 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 is the same, blah 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 blah. When a friendly core member uses steel energy as a result of damaging a higher point character with an attack, they increase the healing by 1. Now, you might say, okay, whatever. So we're going to go and look at the ring. And because we're going, and everybody's like, the ring. Yes, the ring. The ring simply says, blah, 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 this character can use steel energy, and when an opposing character is KO'd, heal this character of 1 damage. Now, here is why this comes back to be looked at. 1 figure, and 1 figure only. Super Skrull with Black Hand. Super Skrull with Black Hand. He hits a figure, he heals for 1. He KOs a figure, he'll heal for 2. He KOs a figure that's a higher point than him, he'll heal for 3. Plus gain food tokens, plus give virus tokens. You might say, well, Dark Logo's Red Lantern battery is a lot easier. Yes, but it's easy for you to get Pulse Wave and die. This battery allows you from jump with Black Hand, and I am being very specific. Very specific. It allows you from jump to say, I am going to heal. I am going to grind you down and grind you down and grind you down. I'm next to you. I'm going to flurry and steal energy, and I'm going to, I'm going to have invulnerability, and I'm going to pick super senses and prob. And I don't care. I take damage. I'm still here. Now you might say, well, Rhino benefits the same way, and so does Juggernaut. But most people aren't going to be looking at those figures, so you can feel free to utilize those as well. There's some other things on the Black Hand dial, and you're like, well, there's resource. Actually, take that back. I take that back because I messed up, because Black Hand will give you the Black Hand. We'll give you a Black Lantern keyword. So take that back. Just take that back. Get rid of Black Hand. Just get rid of Black Hand. See, people like, even I make mistakes. I make mistakes a lot on this show. But sort of coming back, having steel energy on a zombie and just saying I can potentially heal 2, and I don't have to pick steel energy. I have it. I can pick everything else that I need and then just grind that out. The survivability is great. Now you might say, well, hey, Dark Logos, you talked all that good jazz back on the Avengers Roundtable, and you said zombies could be OP with this as well. And I'm like, yes, you're not locked into one option. That's the best part about the meta right now. No one is locked into one option. But if we start looking at this, if I have a heavy if I have a very strong deployment format, I have characters that have decent attack values and okay damage and good damage reduction or damage evasion. This is good stuff. Or even if I have built-in poison already, the ability to sustain by making the attacks is worth it. Now again, you have to make the attacks. All right. So the overall, when we're looking at the full landscape, you can start to see, when I made that initial claim, the lanterns are sort of in flux. They're not in a, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, this is better than this one, this is so superior, blah, 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 this is so inferior. No, they are just there. I would say, if we were looking at the extremes, all the other resources sit on the extremes. The lanterns sort of sit in the center, sort of pointing one direction toward aggro, one direction toward defense, one direction toward shenanigans. But still, they're in that core nexus. And that is why mainly people are looking at the lanterns. There's no other reason, okay? So, brief wrap-up. And if you're still here, thank you. Thank you for sitting through almost an hour and a half show. Definitely back to back from last week, almost being an hour and a half show. But if we're really, 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 really looking at it, where's the meta now, and what are the things that we need to consider with our resources? First off, defend 18D, 19D, 20D. Those defenses are a lot stronger now. Okay? 10 attack, 11 attack, 12 attack. A lot stronger than they were before. But the ability for them to get into auto hit land is a lot harder. Okay? Your defensive options are insanely there, better than they have at any point in time. Your ability to add a power to a character and make that character super customizable is there more so than any other point in time in history of the game. Okay? With that being said, liabilities that are just there. Number one, Lydia screws 90% of the meta field. She just does. If you want to run my funny Guardian tech, Guardian screws 90% of the field. They just do. Okay? Entities, while are beneficial, are more so necessary now than they were before to get over the stat humps. They just are. If you need that upfront +1 attack, that upfront +1 damage, upfront movement, upfront range, whatever that stat is, you're going to have to get it from an entity, because most of the resources aren't going to give you that upfront power or stat or ability guaranteed. Okay? So even if you said like, oh, boom, construct, boom, there, yeah, I got it. Yes, awesome. You're still looking at, well, what about the rest of your team? If you're looking at same thing with the sins as you're picking up the sins, it's like, well, I got this sin, but can I use it? No, okay, I can't use it. All right, time to get another sin. Okay, so there are these little mini games that are also going on. Pandora's Box and Rock of Eternity are prime examples. Okay, I got to make sure I have this many sinners before I can be awesome. Okay, I got to go on a treasure hunt and find all these sins and put them inside the box. Even we're looking at the Avengers Roundtable, it's like, okay, please kill my fodder. Please hurt my don't die guys. Don't just chase my other guy the entire time. Oh, okay. Please do what I want you to do. Oh, yeah, you're not doing what I want you to do. Okay. And even with the Supreme Intelligence is like, please, can I survive? Can I survive? Okay. Can I survive? Stealth, hide, shoot. Come on. All right. Almost there. Oh, crap. They killed me right before I transformed into Supreme Intelligence. So everything in the meta has risks. Everything. So if we are to come back and say, this is the best resource, that's the best resource. Oh, I'm sitting on top because of this, or I'm unquestionable because I have this resource. I don't think it's there. But I will say this. The amount of weird shenanigan interactions are more so going to happen on for your powers, with your figure powers, is going to happen with your power plant. Getting an additional target. Getting energy explosion if you have on-hit effects. If you have effects where, when you use smoke cloud effects, or when you use barrier effects. Stuff like that. I think that the power plant is going to be the most useful. And that's why I'm still thinking, like, if we were actually to rank it, the power plant does sort of sit on top of the meta as the best resource. But it has other resources, not grabbing at the ankles or even at the legs, but at the neck. It's ahead, but not by much, which allows for multiple types of other interactions to happen that have not happened before. Like I said, Blue Lantern Battery, if played properly, can completely overpower a power plant player. It just can. But at the same time, a power plant player can do very little against a strong round table player that has a good deck. Just can't. Okay? You know, round table has its own advantages and disadvantages, you know, like, hey, okay, can I get to everything, you know, in play? You know, I'm living off of 2, but crap, if I get to 3, I'm sort of in trouble. There are going to be teams like that. Even with the Phoenix Force, it's like, okay, I have poison, but you have invulnerability, or you have a character that makes it so I can't use poison. Or you have a character on your team that gives everybody toughness if they don't have damage reduction. I mean, if they don't already have a damage reduction, okay, or they just take 1 less damage from opponents' effects. You know, we don't know what game mechanics are coming, but you can start to see as I wrap this up that your flexibility of your meta is wide when it comes to resources. It allows for a lot of holes to be patched. But there is nothing absolutely there that's just like, I'm always going to win. You have to play me. Okay? The last element, and this is going to be an interesting thing. The last element that I see appearing in tactics, and you all are going to laugh. You're going to laugh. Is this. Someone does the following gambit, and I don't mean the guy with the cards. I play 1 relic that does a very specific effect for 1 character and X amount of ID cards. They do not conflict. Whatever that combination might be, I do not know. But I really do feel that if the meta, if someone just says, screw it, I don't want to deal with Lydia, I don't want to deal with negative effects for having a resource, I don't want you to be able to steal crap from me, I want to be able to automatically come loaded up with jank. Characters that already start with resources relics attached, special relics attached to them or generated on the field, or a Black Witch that's able to generate multiple relics for free. You are then in a whole new world of BS. And if it proves it can win, all is good. All is good. But I would feel remiss if I didn't tell you that option. And the main reason I'm telling everyone this option is this. Many folks will be intellectually lazy and say a team without a resource inside of tactics has no chance. But they haven't explored the options. They haven't explored the options. If we go through and we start trying to do some cool math, we might be able to find something. And then start patching holes and playtesting and patching holes and making notes and patching holes. And then all of a sudden, boom, you have the brokenness, whatever it may be. And if someone is able to find the right combination of attachable elements that are relics and ID cards, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. All right, I'd like to thank you all for listening to the super long show. It's almost like I was reviewing a set or something. Oh, man. You can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, however you choose to armor up in this war, make sure you step correct. You can check out my random musings, find out when a new show is up. More importantly, you can check out my random musings. Definitely my last one. I thought it was really good. You can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. And you can follow me on the blog at startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. You can check out Starting Over Podcast t-shirts on tpublic.com/users/dark logos or /dark logos, whatever it is. You can definitely see all my cool shirts there. I got a Phoenix Nest t-shirt up. It's right there with our motto for the team: win, lose, start over. And you can get the limited edition Starting Over Podcast summer shirt. It has the white background. It's only for the summer. So once September rolls around, it's going away. Okay, definitely going away. Now you can be like, look, guys, I got a specially Starting Over Podcast t-shirt, and they're not making these anymore. Sure enough. One thing that's cool with the Phoenix Nest shirts is if you go and pick, like, let's say a gray background, the logo is red and it's translucent. So there's no like white square or anything like that. So, all right. That's it. I'd like to thank you all for listening to today's show. I know it's long. Just thanks a lot. And like I said, email me for AMA stuff. If you like to donate to the show, go to the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. Hit the little eBay button. All right, that's it. Thank you for listening. And remember, we all got to start over sometime.